Um, so that's kind of one of my first complaints. The second complaint that I have is that I'm not entirely sure about some of the technologies and the way you learn them. Again, this is not a personal thing. The instructor that we had was great, man. I think what I appreciated about him the most was his patience. This guy was just really, really patient while he's talking to all these aspiring, junior developers, that we're just like, huh? He's just, he's very patient and just kind of spoon feeding all the very basic information, doing great. And then he's very, very knowledgeable, right? So you've got questions, he's got answers. Really, really great. I don't know if he designed the course, if he planned the curriculum. I don't think so. But I do, if he did, you know, I respect him, but I don't think he did. Because some of the things are a little bit weird to me, like legacy code. Legacy code is code that's kind of fallen out of favor, in favor of newer, more robust and versatile technologies, right? So one of the things that we learned was handlebars. Handlebars is this little templating engine that really cool. Like when you're first starting out, you're really like, hey, neat. Like I'm making connections here, and now you've started working on the back end, and the back end, we'll get to the back end. Now it starts to kind of all come together, and handlebars is sort of your like introduction into how those things reconcile. And it's cool. I made a whole application with handlebars and a SQL database. So, but it's also like at the same time they wait until like the last couple of weeks to introduce React and the Mern stack, and I feel like they could have done that a lot sooner, you know, and um, so that's something that I'm a little bit critical of. Like I feel like there's so many technologies out there, um, and a lot of them, they what they tell you is read the documentation. Like we're not going to go over it in class. Read the documentation. This is of course something you're going to hear throughout your entire development career, right? It's just like, here's a new tech, like read the documentation. They showed us Bootstrap and they kind of held our hand through that, and they were like, okay, this is a CSS framework. Now, now you know how to learn a CSS framework. Anytime you need to use one, if you want to use Bulma, Material UI or whatever, uh, read the documentation. And I feel like that could have been the case with handlebars. I feel like they could have just gone like, yeah, just read that, and you'll know how to do that, because it's kind of, unless you're working on something that's a little older, which you're probably gonna do, and then it's really easy, right? Like so, but we spent a lot of time on that, so that's critical. And then especially when I feel like we could have started the Mern stack sooner. We could have, we started Node relatively well, kind of early. I can't remember what week it was, but we started Node, and once you start learning Node, which is a runtime, um, you you start seeing things happen on the back end where you're kind of like, okay, and it all starts to make sense. Um, you know, you set up your, and then it's Express, and I feel like, well, you can start, learning React. And I have a complaint about learning React too, and that is that they taught us React kind of the way React exists now, right? Which is, um, there used to be this thing called class components, right? They didn't teach us that, and the criticism that I heard of class components, because I'm still new at this, is that it's a little bit messy. It's a little bit messy and somewhat confusing, and in favor of kind of some new methods. Well, when you go into the workforce, again, you're going to be working on kind of older code. So I feel like when it became pertinent, they didn't show us the older stuff. Like they didn't show us class components. So and we're left to read the documentation on that, right, or learn through some of the ways. So kind of like, okay, and we really, really, really sped through that last part of the Mern stack. I mean, by the time we got to the end, like our final project was, it was Mern stack application, using GraphQL. So that's what Mongo, Express, excuse me, React, Node, and then we have this GraphQL uh, thing, and and you get like 2 or 3 weeks to do this thing, and it's like it was like a sprint, man, and I feel like it could have been a lot better by just you know slowing down, at least taking the time on that part, because that's going to give you a more thorough understanding of the kind of web development that you want to do in your job, right? Anyway, so I think I've kind of peppered it all in. I think I've kind of peppered in what I think is good, what I think is bad, and it may sound like I have a lot of complaints, uh, but overall, it comes down to your motivation, right? Like why you want to do this, man. Let me tell you something. The last thing I'm going to say, and this is why you have to think about it, is because 55 students started up that cohort. About 20 finished. Um, and I mean, just people just drop in. I mean, there was people that dropped out like the day before the last project. I mean, that's how, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. Um, but don't give up. You know what I mean? Like, don't give up. Like, it's not that you're not smart enough. It's not that you're slow. It's not a problem with you. The shit is hard, and there's no way to do it other than just practice every day, and it's hard. So don't give up. If you really want to do it. And what I mean by your heart being in the right place is, I mean, if you're prepared, if you're looking for a career change because your job blows, and you need to try something new, and you're ready for a change, right? Great, cool. Make sure that you're okay with certain things. Make sure that you're okay with sitting at a desk and staring into a computer screen for hours and hours and hours, because that's the job. Sure, you can stand up and stand at your computer if you have a like kind of a transforming desk, or they make treadmills now for you to have some kind of activity. But you're going to be staring into a screen, and if you're going to get accommodations, glasses, and screen filters, and whatever you're going to do, but you're going to have to be okay with that. The other thing you're going to have to really like is solving problems. Because I think GitHub did a study that was like 50% of developer time is spent debugging. And when I mean debugging, and you're just like, looking through, trying to find the semicolon that you missed, or a capital letter that you didn't, if you forgot to capitalize, um, just something kind of silly like that. Uh, and so you're gonna learn every day, and there's stuff to learn about. There's just so much out there. So if you're okay with those things, and if you're ready to be creative, um, and in your problem solving, and learn like a new way of thinking. God, man, I thought I was smart, and I am. I'm not gonna lie, I am smart, um, but learning a new way of thinking is just hard for anybody. It's not impossible. Just don't give up. You know. Um, oh, there's also the be wary, and I would suggest this in any situation, any boot camp that you decide to go to. One of the selling points that the UTSA boot camp used on me, or on everybody, was that at the end of the course there would be this demo day where these potential employers from big companies would attend and see your work and see your final projects, either give you some feedback, or give you some critiques. But generally, the implication is that they're potential employers, right? Like that's the big thing. Well, that it happens. Like they're there on demo day, and they're from big companies for sure. Are big companies looking to hire a single junior developer? No, they're not. They're not there to hire anybody. And not to say that it can't happen, but you don't bank on like standing out to a few individuals, and like I'm gonna get a job that way. You know, Luck is part of that. And just work hard. Just work hard. Just study. Just learn the stuff. And in the end, like you'll get a job. You'll find a place. It doesn't have to be. But I also didn't appreciate that selling point of like, uh, this is an opportunity for you. Nah, not really. And I could tell there was some really nice people that I met at that demo day, but they were not there to hire. They were there to. Then they gave valuable insight. Um, but they were not there to hire for sure, and so it was a little bit, but go through it anyway. Anyway, that's my review. It's taken entirely too long. It's like 30 minutes long. Uh, if you're already signed up for the boot camp, my suggestion is, you know, work and do those algorithms. You learn how to schedule. If you don't already know how to do that, learn how to schedule yourself the time to really do this stuff every day. Practice every day. You know, that's the only way. You're not going to memorize code. You're not going to memorize syntax. That's not going to happen. You are going to start to gain an understanding of how things work and how they chain together by doing them. You know what I mean? Like, if you just learn syntax, you might try to do something across 10 lines of code, right? But if you just do it like the exercises, you start to recognize the patterns and you realize, hey, wait a minute, I can do that all in line, like one thing, if I just, do these things that I'm used to. So get memorizing syntax out of your head. It's not gonna happen. Like it's just do it. Just do it, and it'll start to come. Um, Thumbs up or thumbs down. For those of you who are thinking about it, think about the kind of person that you are. Are you self motivated? Maybe you want to try having a mentor. Somebody that can point you in the right direction. Because I have friends now, and I would tell them, look, man, just do what I'm telling you. Just start with HTML, start with HTML, CSS, learn Grid and Flexbox well, learn them very, very well to begin with, um, and that's gonna make your life a shit ton easier um, when you're designing stuff. Just being able to position things can be the biggest headache if you don't learn it right in the first place, and then you spend time doing that instead of working on what's really going to put you in a position to be a great web developer, which is knowing your backend, knowing algorithms, knowing all your frameworks, server side, database, all that stuff. That's the stuff you need to, that's the juicy stuff. So, anyway, that's all I have for today. Jesus Christ, 30 minutes. Uh, Thank you, and we'll see you next time.